Hey folks, welcome back or welcome to this next video on building Cubs Nation and taking a look at our culture system here at the Jamie Baseball Academy. And as I mentioned in the past, when I think about building a culture system, the key that we're looking for is alignment. And so, as a social studies teacher, what makes sense to me is that a team is like a mini nation. And so, when I think of our culture system here, what helps me to make sense of it and keep consistent with our culture system is thinking of it as a country and all the different elements the country has. And so today we're looking at the foundation behind a country or behind our team, and that would be the pillars and the Constitution. And in this graphic, you'll see on the left, this is our kind of 30,000 foot view of our culture system here at the Jamie Baseball Academy that we refer to as Cubs Nation. And this is all the different elements, and we're going to be explaining that. Today, though, we're just going to take a look at the top part where you see like the pillars there, and then the section right below that that says Constitution. When we look at the pillars there on the right of your screen, you'll see that there's the foundation that says do things right. And that is simply looking at everything that we're doing and making sure that that everything passes through an ethical and moral lens that of something that we can stand behind, something that we're proud of. And if there's ever any questions behind what we're doing, then we need to take a look at that and go, okay, is this the right way to do this? Are we treating our athletes right? Are we training parents right? Are we treating opponents right? All those different things. And so that's really the foundation. And that's where everything else has to make sure that that's able to build upon that. Then we look at the four pillars there. The four pillars are the things that we hold nearest and dearest when it comes to our program. Four things that if we had to boil down, like what are we looking for most from our athletes, it would be these four things. When we start on that first pillar there, it says attitude and intensity. And it's important that we are able to define our terms because everybody has a different definition for these different terms when it comes to coaching. And one person's definition of attitude is going to be different than somebody else's. And so we want, when we're speaking to our athletes, we want to be very clear on what we mean when we say things. I remember playing and I might hear a coach say like, oh, you got to want it. Oh, you got to play harder. And I'm thinking like, well, what does that mean? Because I feel like I'm playing really hard. I feel like my teammates are playing really hard, but you're telling us like we got to want it more. What's your definition of wanting it more? What are you looking for? So it's really important to define those things. So we have our own vocab terms that we go through with the kids, and we have flashcards where they learn those terms so that we're all on the same page. Again, that's part of being aligned. And so we define attitude as an expectation to win reflected in body language. And you see those two pictures there of Vladdy and Josh Hader. And those are guys that you can tell that they're expecting success. They expect to win. And you can see that through their body language. Now, sometimes you got to, fake it until you make it, so to speak. But we want to be clear with our athletes. So we're looking at their body language and that we want to see that attitude there, that when they step in the box, when they step on the mound, when they make an error at shortstop, that they jump right back into it, and you can tell that they expect to win based upon their body language. One of my favorite coaches in college baseball is Matt Deggs, and he talks about attitude a lot. And he says, I'll kick guys out of the batting cage. It's not over swinging and missing. It's not over a lack of execution. I'll kick them out over a lack of attitude. And that shows the importance that he's placing on that attitude, on what he's seeing from their body language, understanding that that sets the tone for what we're doing. And specifically, when we talk about this, we talk about how that's the most important part of being a good two-strike hitter is attitude. And then the second part of that pillar is intensity. Well, what's intensity mean? And intensity is simply wave after wave of attitude, no matter what. I think I got that. I think I got that from Matt Deggs too. So I might be quoting him. Maybe it was somebody else. But attitude then is that no matter what happens, we're still reflecting that confidence, that expectation to win. So intensity is again like no matter what happens, we're going to be the same on the next play, the next pitch that we were previously. And so that's one of the four pillars here that's super important. The second one is taking ownership. And taking ownership is something that I'm a big Jocko fan. I've been a big fan of his for years, and he came out with his book Extreme Ownership, and he talks a lot about taking ownership. And so he defines ownership, or his company Echelon Front defines ownership as there's no one else to blame. You must own problems along with solutions and commit to lead up and down the chain of command. What that really means is that we're all trying to pull on the same rope. We're all trying to be successful and help each other out. And so we're not going to blame other people. Blaming other people keeps us from improving. And we're going to own problems. We're also going to own solutions. We're going to fight and battle constantly to try and problem solve and find ways to do things better. And that goes for the coaches, goes for the players, the parents. We're all working towards the same thing. We want your athlete to be the best that they can be. We want the team to be the best that it can be. And there's no egos. I tell guys, um, like a story of, driving in the car. I don't mind if my wife, when we're driving, tells me like, "Hey, watch out for that person on the side of the road." Some people get frustrated by those things, and they're like, "Hey, let me drive, lady," But for me, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that my wife is going to tell me that, because would I rather hit somebody and have my life change and their life change, or would I rather my wife point that out beforehand? Well, again, like, laying aside ego, hey, there's no ego out there on the baseball field. We're all trying to prevent car accidents. So when your first baseman reminds you, hey, um, on a base hit to right field, hit me in the chest on the cut, rather than the athlete saying, yeah, duh, I know that. We've gone over this a million times. Of course, I know that. Leave me alone. It's like, hey, thank you. Thank you that we're all trying to prevent a car accident from happening. So I appreciate you helping me uh, to try and help us be the best that we can be. And again, that means laying aside your ego. It means that we're all taking ownership over things. There's nobody to blame, and we're all trying to find solutions. And then the second half of that definition from Jocko is the idea that uh, that the athletes are leading up and down the chain of command. Really, that's the concept of decentralized command. We want them to, yes, we as coaches are going to be really involved. I want our coaching staff to work harder than anybody in terms of coaching up the kids and helping them out. But we also want our athletes to be prepared to have the autonomy to take over in the middle of a play and to lead in that moment. And so that's the second pillar, taking ownership. The third pillar, I don't know if I could choose one pillar that's the most important, but if I could, it might be this one. And that's the idea of being obsessed with improvement. When we look at 14-year-old, 15, 18-year-old athletes, whatever, they really have no idea. Maybe when they're 18, they start to have a little bit of an idea, some of them, but they really have no idea what it means to be obsessed with improvement. And so, what it means for a 12-year-old to be obsessed with improvement, they think that they're working really hard. Sometimes parents are like, "Oh yeah, my kid works so hard," and yet we really have you know, um, no concept as young people what it means to be obsessed with improvement. And so that's up to us as coaches to model that, to walk them through that, to give them ideas, to show them this is what that looks like. And so with this third building block, we want to, again, model for our athletes. What does it look like to be obsessed with improvement? What does it look like to focus upon your nutrition, to consider your sleep, to think about what you're doing in the weight room, to think about how to improve your swing and how you got to be watching video of yourself and visualizing the night before and the morning of, and how you should be standing in front of the mirror constantly, checking out your swing and things like that. And so that's the third pillar. The fourth pillar, again, might be the most important one, and that's the idea of servant leadership. The reason why this might be the most important one is that it really undergirds everything else. Because if you don't have humility, if you don't see yourself as a servant first, a leader second, then you're going to have an ego. Then you're not going to be obsessed with improvement. Then you're not going to take ownership. You're going to blame others. Then you're going to pout and you're not going to have great body language. So, servant leadership kind of undergirds everything else. And what we use to discuss servant leadership is this concept of sweeping the sheds. And this is an idea that you probably have heard of from this idea came from the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. And they talk about sweeping the sheds meaning like the locker room. And they have their captains sweep the sheds or clean their locker rooms and be the last ones to leave. It's the idea that never be too big to do the small things that matter. That I remember when I was in college as a freshman, there might be something that we had to do. Maybe it was putting like sandbags on the tarps or things like that. And I remember the upperclassmen sometimes, not all of them, but they might be like, "Hey, freshmen, get on that stuff." And I remember at the time thinking like, I don't mind doing this stuff, but I think there's a better way to bring us together as a team than just have like the freshmen do those jobs. And I try to file that away, thinking, okay, when I'm older, I'm gonna hopefully be a part of doing this a little bit better. And maybe my teammates would reflect and say that I didn't, but I hope I did. I think I did. And that's the idea that if you want other people to do things, if you want to set the tone for what should be done, then you got to be the first one willing to do it. And this goes back to a great scene from the movie We Were Soldiers, if you've seen that, where Mel Gibson is getting ready to land like in this hot LZ, and he's talking to the soldiers' families before they ship out. He's telling them like, I can't guarantee that everybody's going to survive, but I can guarantee that I'll be the first one off that chopper. And what a great picture of servant leadership, that when things are the toughest, when they need somebody to do the things that nobody else wants to do, that he'll be the first one to do it, and that then he'll tell people, hey, follow me, follow my example here. So that's really what servant leadership is about, and that's the fourth leader, or the fourth pillar there. And so in summary, what we're really looking for here is the concept that our culture beats their culture. And this is an idea that I borrowed from a college hockey coach. And when we think about what's going to help us to win, yes, we want to be um, great when it comes to baseball IQ, when it comes to our swings, when it comes to speed, power, agility, all those different things, throwing breaking balls. But we really want to be able to depend upon our culture and say, hey, we're going into this game and we can take this team down because our culture is going to be stronger than their culture. This really comes down to the idea that when you're looking around your team, that it's our third baseman, that's our left fielder, that it's our relief pitcher, that's our utility guy coming off the bench, that it's our pinch runner, bunter. All their character combined equals our team's cumulative character. And when we have really high cumulative character, then we're going to be a great team and we're going to be a lot tougher to beat. And so this is like the foundation of what we're focusing on when it comes to Cubs Nation. And in the end, we're trusting that what's going to help us be successful is the culture that we're building. And this is something that as a coach, you're constantly taking inventory of. We're constantly trying to find ways to build a better, stronger culture. I spoke at a coaches conference on team culture, and in thinking of like, what's a measuring stick for team culture, and if you know that you got it right. And I think that one measuring stick is, as a coach, do you enjoy being a part of the team that you're coaching? And I can look at my teams and go, yeah, I love our teams. I love coaching those teams. I love being a part of it. And there's a lot of joy and fulfillment in that. And so when you look at your culture as a parent or as a team, how do you know when you got it right? Because you love it, you enjoy being a part of it. And it's got to be something that's going to work for you. And over the years, these are elements that I've seen work for me as a coach, work for our assistant coaches, and work for our players. And in the next video, we're going to discuss identity and shared values. Identity, the idea of who are we as a group. Shared values, what's our why? Why are we doing this? Why are we all investing so much? What are the things that we hold near and dear? And so thanks for tuning in, and we're excited to get into those topics next time.